Let's break this bitch down. Act 1. Let's set some stuff up.
Our Hallmark Christmas story begins on the bustling streets of New York City, where happy consumers shop blissfully unaware that somewhere in the city, a maniac with fake plastic vampire fangs is on the loose. I don't know about you guys, but I could swear I heard, "I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire," fading into the distance as he made his way into the subway.
I like to imagine that all the movies are like happening at the same time.
Oh, so do
when they're
I.
all like in
there.
New York City.
Yeah. St. Nicholas himself stumbles upon a freshly dropped wallet on the steps to the subway, filled to the brim with cash and definitely soaked in hobo piss. There's no question about it. That thing got kicked around for what felt like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Ended up on the steps of the subway, which that's one of the main places people like to take a dump. I don't know if anybody's ever been to a bustling city with a subway in it. The escalators are always down because homeless people have figured out that if you shit into those, it just goes underneath and chops it up, and then it's just gone. It's like nature's
why that is.
Yeah, I was just about to say, is it a common thing that every escalator is always broken when you have underground travel?
Yes.
I feel like San Francisco, LA, like it's always busted.
Yep.
Bill Firpo, whose last name sounds like a sex act you find on Urban Dictionary, obviously has a very cagey moral conundrum as to whether or not to pocket the cash or turn the wallet over to the authorities. He opts to head to a Catholic church where he confesses to a priest who couldn't give two shits that he eventually did the right thing, but with great difficulty, only after counting the money in the wallet several times. He expresses worry that something bad will happen due to his transgression, and thanks to the power of God, the priest coincidentally happens to be looking at a newspaper and tells him that his two brothers are probably getting early release from prison due to overcrowding, which, in my opinion, is truly a Christmas miracle.
It's the first piece of convenience. And of course, like the priest knows exactly who Bill is, even though he hasn't been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
There's just so many of these moments in this movie.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
but I love
everybody.
when he walks out and he's like banging on the door and everybody's like, and Nick just shoots him a look.
He's going to take a giant furpo on them.
John Lovitz and Dana Carvey, a.k.a. Dave and Alan Firpo, are a couple of morons. Or sorry, did I say Alan? John Lovitz and Dana Carvey, a.k.a. Dave and Alvin Firpo, are a couple of morons making a case for early release by explaining the evolutionary traits of the pterodactyl and sucking on comically large nuts, which I'm guessing these guys had to do a lot just to survive in prison.
It was a jawbreaker.
Was it?
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, it says it in the subtitles, jawbreaker.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. Which is probably another prison joke.
Ooh, touche.
He did have his jaw broken.
Yeah.
That's why he
Maybe
talks like that.
He talks. Yeah. We're giving him more credit.
Got poked right in this voice box in prison.
I bet he was popular. It was like everybody.
He was.
Hey, come over here, high talker.
What do you want from me? Oh my god!
Dana Carvey talks, acts, and giggles like he might be slightly mentally handicapped throughout the entire film, just because I guess, I don't really know why. You'll notice an abnormally large number of slightly mentally handicapped characters throughout for some reason. They don't really add anything to the film other than confusing storylines.
And comedy.
They all end up in one room at the end. Which was kind of wasted.
That's
they
actually,
didn't actually use all of them.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
But it's funny because they're using the one character, the deputy, who is actually mentally handicapped, for like the sympathy stuff.
Right.
But then they put in Dana Carvey and the guy Clovis.
The guy who works at the store.
Who are just stupid, but really stupid.
It's like the scriptwriter was like, hey, it's funny, you take a stupid guy, and then you take a straight guy, who's the foil to the stupid guy, and you put them together and you get comedy. And we'll do that like 3 times.
We'll do that
three
with
three separate pairs of characters. Yeah. A stupid guy and a slightly less stupid guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can play the straight man.
Yeah.
Comedy gold.
Yeah. Dave is a compulsive liar, and Alvin is a kleptomaniac, so of course they get paroled immediately by the New York Correctional Board after Alvin lifts a tie clip with a diamond in it from the main correctional officer.
Off screen.
Off screen.
Yeah, off screen. Yeah.
Like, did he give him a hug or something? And
Yeah, I was gonna say, when
I'm pretty sure you can't walk up and touch the parole officers.
No. Yeah, that of all things made no sense. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, how did he get that? It's on the dude's tie.
He's also
It's
like
clipped in.
It's not like he's like got great hands, you know, like he's just really good at stealing stuff.
He's a really terrible
picks
kleptomaniac.
things up and just stuffs them in his jacket wide open, like everybody can see exactly what he's doing the whole time. So how did he get that tie clip off of there? I call foul.
Yeah, same. That was the most unbelievable part of this movie, which is saying something. Bill is waiting to pick these two degenerates up at the prison and tells them that he's not into whatever scheme these dopes came up with in prison, which of course they act like they have no idea what he's talking about, but then start with their scheme right away. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
Here's a letter.
here's this letter. It's a real tear jerker.
I mean, immediately after walking out of the prison, they're like
I know.
starting this robbery and like trying to trick their brother who has gone straight and narrow into helping them rob a bank. Literally like 30 seconds after getting out of prison.
It kind of fits because they're all kind of stupid. So
Yeah.
They are really stupid.
Yeah.
All three of
It fits
them.
with these dumb it fits with these dumb characters.
John Lovitz is like, his character Dave is just awful from start to finish throughout this entire thing.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, even when
No
they're
redeeming quality.
I think I mentioned it in the breakdown, but like even after they're supposedly supposed to have learned their lesson, he's still terrible. So it's like, oh well, he's going back to prison for sure.
Bill drives a 1970s absolute pile of shit car with 4 flat tires into New York City, where Dave asks if Bill could take them to Pennsylvania, where he plans to pop in on the daughter of a fellow inmate who wanted him to deliver a letter.
That
Bill
car is not getting
hilariously-
to Pennsylvania. There's no way in hell.
No, no, it barely made it back to New York City.
They do grab a different car to go to Pennsylvania, though,
Yeah,
right?
they do. They steal it in the car.
Yeah, from Fast Eddie. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Bill hilariously chucks the letter out the window and explains they are in his custody and it's against their parole to leave the state before telling them to call him Dad.
You are on parole. You cannot leave the state. You're in my custody. You cannot go. So just quiet down, my little one, and call me Dad.
Which is a weird kink to have with your brothers. But hey, based on all the featured videos I definitely do not watch on the hub, this film was ahead of its time. You might as well just call me Dad. Dad, can we stop and get some ding-dongs or ring-dings?
Ring-ding for milk.
Which, actually, Alvin does ask if they could stop by a store to get some ring-dings and milk since he's mentally challenged. Dave drops some exposition about Bill being a restaurateur, which should have been obvious since he drives such a nice car.
So he manages a restaurant in New York City that looks like very upscale, fancy
Yeah, it looks
type
like
of
a
place.
decent restaurant.
Yeah.
And he drives that car.
And he's dirt poor.
Is he paying
dirt
back,
poor, yeah.
like, because of crimes
Maybe.
that he's done in the
Yeah.
past or something?
Maybe he's paying damages.
Yeah. But
Plausible.
going back to the NCU, our Nicolas Cage universe, this is the alternative life of Rob from Pig.
Before he went off into the woods.
He was driven crazy by his idiot brothers.
By his
That's what
brothers.
happened.
he never had a wife. He just
Never had a
left
wife.
to go be
Yeah, he couldn't deal with these two morons. They stop by a shitty-looking barrio corner store where Alvin promptly robs the cash register, like the deranged kleptomaniac he clearly is. Bill runs inside to put the money back, but the manager isn't quite as understanding about the situation as Bill would have hoped and freaks out. The trio are then chased by NYPD's finest into an alleyway where Bill pretends to be a detective. The idiot cop lets them all walk scot-free thanks to an obvious stuntman throwing other obvious stuntmen into a wall. Okay, now going back to that comment about like this movie just being full of white people, did you guys notice that during the scene where Bill's watching Alvin steal the money, that this raggy looking dude walks by 3 different times? So he walks by as Nick's looking in, then he walks by again as Nick's crossing the street, and then as Nick's pulling the cash out of Alvin's coat, the dude walks by again for a 3rd time.
So they only had so many extras.
Yeah.
Well, this dude saw his opportunity to be in a classic Nick Cage film and definitely took it. So bravo to that, sir. Bravo.
That is literally the only diversity in this entire movie. Like that Hispanic shop owner.
That one scene.
And then that guy walking back and forth.
They head to their mother's place where she expresses sadness at the fact she no longer has stolen shit laying around the apartment since they've been in prison. She seems shocked when Bill says all that stuff they had around the place was stolen, even though she said she could hardly move because there was so much of it. You know, their mom and the mom from Requiem for a Dream should get together, and I'm sure they'd have a good time talking about how much shit their son stole.
Deep cuts.
We find out Dave and Alvin went to prison for robbing a car wash, which Alvin says they didn't have a shred of evidence except for their fingerprints. And their mom reads the backup copy Dave had of the letter he tried to give to Bill earlier. This is a weird scene. Like the whole scene was he's like, Dana Carvey's like, yeah, more, mom. Give me more cream corn. It's so
the
good.
best cream corn I ever had.
Just in case you didn't know he was mentally challenged.
Yeah.
They got to make
He
sure
loves
he loves
cream
cream corn. And scallions, but that comes later.
Scallions. Oh yeah, that's right. She reads the letter and she reads the letter and gets all weepy about the glaringly obvious bullshit story outline about a convict who wants nothing more than to spend Christmas with his daughter, Sarah, who lives in Paradise, Pennsylvania. The letter goes on to say if they don't find his daughter, he'll rip off their heads and shit down their throats. Aw, such a sweet guy.
You meet the best people in prison.
Oh yeah, I love how their mom's all like, "It's a real heartbreaker." She's all crying and shit. Throats. Real sentimental ma.
It was fun watching Nicolas Cage be Italian. In this, like
Or at least
digging
try
deep
to
into
be.
his roots.
Yeah.
Try to be.
Pulling some
It's like
accents
riding-
from his childhood.
It's like
I was
riding a
gonna say
bike.
like yeah.
Nick Cage can't do it.
I was gonna say his accent like kept coming in.
It's all
leaving.
over
It was
the
a little
place.
Peter Lowe. It was all over the place.
Especially like that
There's
last
a little
scene,
Boston-esque.
and he's like, "These are good people. Like all we can do is steal from them."
Yeah.
What happened,
Turns
dude?
into Rocky for a second.
He's like Stallone. Well, we're supposed to be in Pennsylvania, so maybe I'll do a Stallone here. We're kind of close to Boston, so I'll do like a really bad Boston accent too. There are times I felt like I was watching myself try to do a Boston accent when he was talking.
Maybe that's part of like that. Maybe that does lend credence to the director not directing because he
Yeah.
just probably had no fucking clue. He was accents were all over the place.
Nobody
He's just
keeping
like, fuck
track.
it, there's no fixing this.
Yeah.
I want to
let
see
him do what he's
him.
gonna do.
I want to see him do like an English accent. I know there are movies
Oh my
where
god.
he plays
Oh
like
my
a
God, I
slightly
hope so.
English character or medieval, like
It would
Season of the
probably
Witch.
just be
Does he
Peter Lowe.
do?
It would probably just sound like Peter Lowe.
Oh god, I hope so. I love that accent. It's so. I really wish he would have just dove right into that accent in this film.
It's so funny to like see him in like a King Arthur legend type story. It's the Knights of Camelot. Okay.
Wait, he did one. He did one with Hayden Christensen,
Oh yeah, that's right.
where he's like a
Did he really?
crusader or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna watch it at some point. I don't know if he plays an English guy. I'm sure he's
Awesome. I
not
hope-
playing an American guy.
Probably just talking like he talks.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I really hope that he just talks in his normal voice.
It's kind of like
Bill-
Tom Cruise and Valkyrie, where it's just like, did you
God,
try?
yeah.
Or
You realize you're German, right?
Yeah.
In this movie.
No, I am not German. Bill calls them out on the bullshit letter and heads to work, but not before noting his wallet is missing. Over at Bill's job as a manager of a restaurant, Dave shows up and tells Bill they need to leave because Bill left his wallet at the scene of the attempted robbery from earlier. Alvin is waiting in a car outside, and the three of them evade the cops by heading to, you guessed it, Paradise, Pennsylvania. How convenient.
Yeah.
And so they mention, this sets up one of my questions, is they mention it's Christmas Eve while this is going down. And they're going to Pennsylvania, which is, I looked it up, it's at least a 4-hour drive from New York City to Pennsylvania. So it's got to be early on Christmas, because it's light out, so it's at least, when they're having this conversation, it's at least like probably 8 in the morning in New York at the earliest. Can't be any earlier because it would be kind of dark.
During the restaurant scene, or when they get to Pennsylvania?
That was
when they get in the car and decide they're going to go to Pennsylvania or whatever. Because I think it's.
Are you talking about like at the payphone?
Yes, because they're like, it's Christmas Eve of all days. So I'm like, okay, so we know it's Christmas Eve. It's daytime. Yeah. It's not. It looks like it's not early in the morning. It's fully light out, so it's probably like 8 or 9 in the morning. Mm-hmm. They drive 4 hours, so they get to Paradise at sometime in the early afternoon, maybe. So I'm just trying to keep track of this movie's timeline.
Don't, and you'll go crazy. Don't do it.
It's the longest freaking day ever if you really track everything.
This makes the series 24 seem plausible. At least they somewhat kept that shit within
also,
real
imagine
timelines.
what traffic is like in New York, trying to leave New York on New Year's Eve and drive out to Pennsylvania. Christmas Eve, sorry. It's probably not great, but
yeah. Well, we see it
put
later
that in mind
on
for the timeline.
when the dudes break out of prison. Spoilers. We see the traffic as they're driving out of it.
Oh yeah, so those guys break out of prison and then also drive out to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, on the same day.
on the same night. On the same night of Christmas. See if these. How many are there? 5 idiots. Dave calls home in New Jersey, where Mom tells him they have to stay out of New York altogether, and Bill loses it when Dave suggests they head to Paradise. He accuses Dave of setting him up and delivers the line, "I know how your mind works," and the whole time you stand there with a "who me?" expression on your face, in only a way Nick Cage can deliver.
And the whole time you stand there with this "who me" expression on your face!
It's like, whoa, okay. Nick, you were at a 14. Let's dial it back to 9. Just
this is
I know you're
weirdly one of the most Nick Cage-iest movies. Almost everything he says is a Nick Cagey delivery.
It is.
Maybe that goes back to the directing of just let him do whatever he wants. So that's what Nick Cage did. He did.
Yeah.
As we've seen, if Nick Cage gets let loose, he does things you're not expecting. He just does crazy shit.
Joker's wild. I do have to say though, that scene is probably one of the funniest scenes in this whole fucking film, because he's going over the top, and then it just cuts to John Lovitz, who has the dumbest fucking look on his face, and he just.
There's a callback to that at the end with the two guys who broke out of prison who look at all three of them. And they're all giving that stupid look at the same time.
That's right. Yeah. Over in Paradise, Alvin, being the semi-mentally handicapped person that he is, nearly runs over a deputy on a horse who happens to be fully mentally handicapped. Who let him drive? Why? Why do they let Alvin?
They got to establish early on that he can drive.
He drives
Otherwise,
in every scene.
No sense that he's the getaway driver.
Yeah, he's the last person I would want driving.
It's verisimilitude in this movie.
By the way, he's not actually mentally handicapped, in case you were wondering. Just kind of stupid, so it's funny. That's Alvin, not the deputy. The deputy's actually mentally handicapped, so it's not funny.
Right.
But I think it might be funny because of stuff that happens on down the road.
The partially mentally handicapped guy almost kills a fully mentally handicapped guy on a horse. It's comedy gold.
But one is we can laugh at, and the other one we're not supposed to laugh at.
Right.
Okay.
Life is confusing in 2021. I wish we were back in 94 where we could laugh at things like this and not be judged.
Yeah, or just call people retards and it's funny. Like they do multiple times in the movie.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're progressive here.
Actually, it's probably a good idea to not see it.
Yeah.
I don't know where the line is with that because you
can't
are
say it anymore.
specifically talking about a character who is mentally retarded.
You can't
which
even
is
say
still
it for that anymore. They don't
really?
say that.
Like,
Yeah. Because it became such an insult to just call somebody retarded, you can't really just say that somebody is mentally retarded anymore. You have to say they're mentally handicapped.
Our fans, we could not leave out that use of word in Deadfall because it was prominent and in one of the best scenes in cinema history.
Yeah, we didn't say it. He said it.
Yeah, he said it.
It's a time capsule.
Plus, we have mentally handicapped friends, so we can say that word. And that was the episode that killed the podcast.
I'm good friends with Dana Carvey, so I'm good.
The sheriff and like 75% of the people who live in the town gather around these doofuses as Bill asks where he can find Sarah from the letter. The sheriff says she works over at the bank, and these guys wander over as inconspicuous as you can after meeting the sheriff and most of the people who live in the town.
Go right to the bank.
Alvin steals everything that isn't nailed down, while Bill realizes that this bank has the worst security in the history of banking. The vault door is wide open. The security guard is a 100-year-old man who's always asleep, and the security cameras aren't even plugged in.
I would say
Bill-
convenient.
Yeah.
Touche.
Isn't it funny that, like... Nah, never mind. Who hired this old man to be
The
the
bank owner.
security
He's such a good
guard?
guy.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Yeah.
He does everything with a
To be
handshake.
fair,
Probably gave him
I
that
actually
job with a
liked it.
handshake.
Yeah.
It hit such an absurd note that it worked for me. Like,
Yeah.
this
It
town
really
is
does.
so wholesome that like the bank doesn't have any security, even though it
Yeah.
contains all the money for everybody in the whole town. Apparently,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
just hit levels of absurdity that just it crossed over to where I'm like, fuck it, it's funny.
Yeah. Same.
It's kind of like
yeah.
like a dark Hallmark Christmas story.
Yeah,
Where-
I kind of got the feeling that's what they were going for.
Yeah,
with
these
this
characters
movie, is
are bad people who get dropped into that
yeah. Like they were
Norman
trying to
Rockwell
go
story, you know?
It's like if we took a John Hughes movie and then tried to copy it, but like subvert it a little bit and make it about bank robbers who are also terrible. So it's funny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just you know, I don't think it meshes in a way that works pretty well, but I think that's what they were going for. It's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of potential with this
Yeah.
this movie. I feel like you could potentially remake this movie nowadays and
could,
do
yeah.
a good version of it.
Yeah.
With Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, you could. Yep. Ooh, touche. Reboot. Hashtag reboot.
Everybody's asking for that Trapped in Paradise reboot.
Sarah appears and busts Alvin for eating a gingerbread man straight off the Christmas tree. And for stealing every damn pen in the place. He probably ate some paste and shit in his pants as well, but they left those details out of the story.
Was that a real gingerbread man? She says
looked
that
like
it
it.
was for the kids, so I'm guessing that it was real. But
Yeah, it had to be, but it grossed me out that he just...
I mean, people put real gingerbread bread on their trees.
yeah.
You're not supposed
Yeah.
to eat them, but they do it. They're decorative.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're going to feed them to kids, but
Picture like everybody in the town coughing near that tree and,
Yeah.
and all sorts of
it would have made
spittle
more
all
sense
over
if
the
he'd like
frickin' gingerbread
stolen
man.
a present from under the tree, and then she came over and was like, "Those are for the kids." You know, also
Yeah.
would have made sense for the character, but they didn't do that. So
And also,
Yeah, I
she
know.
spots him stealing all of the stuff like immediately, again showing that he's not very good at stealing stuff and getting away with
No,
it.
he's awful. I guess maybe that's why he's the wheelman, because he can't.
yeah, if they brought him
steal
into the
stuff.
bank, he'd just start stealing
Yeah.
shit immediately and
Yeah.
blow their cover, such
Yeah.
as it was.
But he's such
Yeah,
a good thief
I mean,
that he
he's-
got that tie clip off there without the person wearing it
Right.
noticing.
Right. Yeah. Fucking movie. All right. Bill creepily asks if she's married, and says he plans to propose to this complete stranger if she isn't. He explains that Alvin is mentally handicapped, answering that question once and for all, I guess. So I guess his antics aren't funny. But then Dave says
definitely
Alvin.
aren't, but not for
Yeah,
the
no,
reason.
right, exactly, right.
Has nothing to
But
do with
then-
him being mentally handicapped.
Yeah, but then to add to confusion, Dave says Alvin is a diabetic who would have gone into shock, so they told him to go find something sweet, meaning her, in the bank. So I guess his antics are funny after all?
Because he's not actually mentally handicapped.
Because he's not actually mentally handicapped.
See,
because he's diabetic.
Yeah.
That's why I talk like this.
Maybe it's both.
My blood sugar's low.
Maybe that's why you really wanted the ring dings.
I need to eat this gingerbread man. Otherwise, I'm going to have a little stroke. I already had a stroke once. That's why I talk like this.
So naturally, this creeps Sarah the fuck out. So she rightfully walks away from these nitwits. Bill tells Dave that he knows why he's doing this and explains that he won't help him rob the bank since there's no money in the vault. And right on cue, $275,000 show up out of nowhere, and Bill chokes on some cigarette smoke. In only the way Nick Cage can do.
Do you mind signing here, Mr. Anderson?
It reminded me just to be able to just smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When he was lighting it up, I was like, somebody's gonna come over. I thought that's when somebody's gonna come over and tell him.
Sir, you can't smoke in here. It's a bank.
But then
you used to be able to smoke everywhere. Back in the good old days. Just like you could just endanger people's health everywhere you went.
Go into the bank and light it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No wonder asbestos was everywhere.
I heard like the first time that I flew on a commercial plane, there were people smoking in the back. Like they had a private like smoker section, or like it was just kind of the back of the plane. Could you imagine that now? Like a shared air space like that, and everybody's smoking in the back.
I remember it from restaurants. I didn't fly when
Sherry's,
but restaurants always smelled like cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
God, I mean, dude, someone farts on a plane, you could smell that thing everywhere. I couldn't imagine somebody smoking on a plane.
Yeah.
Well, it's the old joke. It's like having a pissing section in a pool. Having a smoking section in a restaurant or on an airplane.
That's a pretty good analogy.
That is a great analogy.
It just makes no sense.
They drive out of Paradise so Bill isn't tempted to rob the bank, but then he says, fuck it, let's go rob the place. But only after Dave tells him they have guns in the trunk.
Oh my God, guns!
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, that's one of the moments where I was like, yeah, I can see where John Lovitz is probably accurate. They hated this movie because that was one of the worst line readings ever. Oh my God, guns!
I actually kind of like that one because it's like it's like the first time that he sort of shows that he knows what's going on and isn't just just
I do
blindly
too, but
going along with his brother who is actually the mastermind of this whole thing.
I felt like he could have done a little more sarcastically to really hammer that home, but it just kind of felt like a throwaway line for Dana Carvey. And it could have been improv. Who knows? Yeah. But I love that they have an M16 with the grenade launcher on the bottom. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you're going to rob a bank in a town that you already knew had the worst security, like the softest security. Why do you need a grenade launcher?
It definitely felt like they were setting up like some big showdown third act thing where they're just
I was hoping it turned into the
gunfight with all these guns.
Dude,
I was hoping it so funny if it turned into Heat.
As they come out of the bank,
Dana Carvey
Alvin's just out there. And then just
running off like Val Kilmer.
I got him, guys. Let's go. Let's go. I'm driving.
You do what you do, I'll do what I do. And then he launches the grenade at the cops.
Takes off in the armored truck without his brothers.
Man, we're gonna write some amazing movies.
Yeah, it's too bad they didn't have us as script doctors.
Yeah. So after they show him the guns, they head to a sporting goods store where another semi-mentally handicapped character hangs out with Sergeant Taggart from Beverly Hill Cops. Which, thank you for pointing that out because it was driving me nuts. I was like, I know
Beverly
this guy
Hill
from
Cop?
somewhere.
He's in Cops. Beverly Hill Cops.
Beverly Hill
My
Cops.
It's a spin-off of Cops.
It's a spin-off of Cops.
They just
Beverly Hills
bust rich
Cop.
drunk white girls and steal them.
I'd watch that show.
Dude, let's write that.
But it was driving me nuts. I was trying to place that guy.
Yeah.
And then when I finally read that, I was like, oh, fuck, okay, that's where he's from.
He's also in Midnight Run, like I mentioned at the beginning. And he basically plays the exact same character in both movies. He's got the same goofy hair, and then he's spitting all the time. And, well, he smokes a cigar nonstop in Midnight Run, but he changed it up and has chew in this one. but pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, he's chewing all the time. Yeah, this is the same fucking character, which cracks me up. Bill tries on some dope-ass orange ski sunglasses while Alvin steals the prize out of a cereal box, then steps all over the cereal he spilled on the floor and steals a bunch of ski hats.
The shot that takes way too long.
Oh my god, I know. And he's spilling fucking Captain Crunch on the ground.
Dig out the thing in real time and then dump the whole box and then step all over it. Like,
this movie's 111 minutes and could have been like 75. There's so much extra stuff. It's just like, oh.
Yeah. I think if they would have tightened it to 90 minutes, it would have been a much better film. But then I love, like, Nick Cage trips on the cereal the only way Nick Cage can trip on cereal. And then he just looks back at him all angry.
That he gives him.
It's like, dude, I've never tripped on cereal before.
Yeah. There's just so much, like, I enjoyed those little things in this movie. Just little injections of comedy, and but there was, for everything like that, there was something that wasn't funny that was supposed to be funny, like him digging out the cereal. Cereal box.
Long take.
It's a mixed bag
for no reason. They buy a bunch of stuff while semi-mentally handicapped character number 3 asks if he should bag up the items. No, just the ones you haven't grown emotionally attached to.
There's some good lines.
That was actually a good line.
Say spill on aisle 3.
Bill, wearing the most inconspicuous and hard to recognize sunglasses he can find, explains that they're just passing through.
Just passing
through? And the three of them head directly to the bank after stealing another car.
Yeah, he doesn't make himself, instantly recognizable in that whole thing. Like, who else acts like that? Just passing through. Very memorable. Okay, now I'm going to remember that guy's face because he did that weird-ass thing.
Going to go buy a bunch of clothes. Just passing through. That's what people do.
And then those sunglasses that I have never seen anywhere else. I've been trying to get them for the breakdown part. Like put those sunglasses in the bottom. How we put all those little items in there. They don't exist, so I think they were like custom made just for this movie. So those glasses are like so easy to identify afterwards, and like people in the bank saw him wearing those, and then Sergeant Taggart from Beverly Hills Cop saw him wearing those, so it'd be real easy to like put them together. Buying them, probably has a receipt for them.
Putting them on to go around the bank is actually not that bad of an idea because it'll distract everybody. Everybody will be distracted by the sunglasses, and then when he ditches them later, people wouldn't know what he looks like. But the guy in the town watched him buy the sunglasses, so it's automatically linked to him.
It's also a town that is theoretically only a few thousand people. So you would recognize pretty much everybody. I mean, they do say that tons of tourists are in town for the Winterfest, but at the same time, it's like any stranger you're gonna recognize or you're gonna remember.
The one being really weird while his brother steals a bunch of shit out of the store.
Who spilled all this Captain Crunch on the ground? Oh, must have been those guys. I'm sure there's probably also security cameras in this sporting goods store.
No,
the bank doesn't have them.
Those guys don't look like the type of guys that would invest in security cameras.
Yeah, but I can't imagine those two dudes actually owning that place. I feel like there's somebody else who owns it, and he's probably watching them like a hawk because he's like, I got these two morons running the counter.
Well, the story I built in my head is that was passed down to Taggart through his family.
The head canon.
In fact, I think it was it was Taggart Sporting Goods. Alvin goes to shut off the car, but Bill stops him by saying they won't have time to hotwire it again, so they leave the dumbest person imaginable in charge of the getaway car, and he gives them the ultimate confidence boost by saying, "You do what you do, I'll do what I do." Which then he turns into a wonderful song.
You do what you do, I do what I do.
He's the best.
Act 2. Let's get some motivation up in this thing.
Dave and Bill head inside where they scream at the top of their lungs that they're robbing the place, but the 100-year-old security guard, who may or may not be dead, sleeps right through it. Out of the crowd appears the innkeeper from Groundhog Day. Did you notice that? That's as you might have recognized her from.
I haven't seen Groundhog
Day. It's like
Day,
the only other movie I've ever seen her in, and she's very recognizable from that role. So the whole time I was like, "Hey, it's from Groundhog."
I don't remember her being in that movie.
She was the one who ran the inn and like. He comes down and he ends up like kissing her on the mouth in one scene and stuff.
Oh my god, yeah, okay. Oh, holy shit.
She asks the robbers who are holding shotguns on her if they really want to rob the bank, it being Christmas Eve and all. So it's still Christmas Eve.
Yep. What bank is open on Christmas Eve?
Exactly. And also, how did they get this $275,000 deposit on Christmas Eve? Wouldn't it have had to have come like way earlier if the Winterfest is starting now? And
yeah,
also,
why is Winterfest going now? Like it's Christmas Eve. I don't know.
I was very unclear. I guess we'll get to it later, but I was very unclear as to what exactly they meant by like people just give money out of the kindness of their hearts to the bank.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like.
Are they opening? They say they open little Christmas accounts, so that's not actually giving money to the bank.
And they save money all year. Yeah, like they put all their money. It's like they put aside all this money all year for them.
Yeah.
And then at Christmas, maybe he gives it back to them as a bonus, like with interest or whatever. Like, I don't know.
I don't understand what the hell that plan was.
And how do they how did all the money come in at the same time? It didn't come in like person by person.
You think it would be leaving the bank to get deposited, because I don't know. But it wasn't. They brought it into the bank, so maybe it's set up at little shops and people put their money, like the little charity donation things.
But still,
it was a charity donation.
Charity to the bank.
It would have made way more sense if they just said, "Oh, it's a charitable donation that people put money into it all year, and we." Donated to the church or something. At the end of the
but then once again, it would be going. How? I don't know. It still doesn't make any sense. Or it'd be trickling in slowly because you're not gonna. Stores aren't gonna keep that much cash on them until Christmas Eve. That's not how deposits work.
Yeah.
These are just a few of the reasons why this movie didn't do well.
I'm also going back to my timeline thing. Banks normally close at what time on a normal non-holiday, so it's like 5 p.m.
But on Christmas Eve,
we already established it's like a 4-hour drive at least to go from New York City to Pennsylvania. So if they left it 8 in the morning, it'd be noon. If they left it a little bit later, it could be afternoon that they get there. They spent however much time fucking around at the hardware store.
At least 6 hours.
Stuff. So but we're still
judging
not
by that one shot of him opening the cereal box, they were in that sporting goods store for hours and hours.
So the bank was still busy, but not closed. So it's still at least before 5 p.m. So,
and this is also December 24th, which is a really short day. The sun doesn't rise until like 7:30.
It probably sets at 5,
like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah. So it was still daylight when they went into it looked like afternoon. It didn't look like dusk, but whatever.
Well, she
For
says
the sake
that,
of argument, we'll say
the bank manager is on lunch, but they're eating breakfast in there.
Well, breakfast for lunch, that's normal.
It's like Scrapple is a breakfast, not...
Whoa. Scrapple is an all-day meal.
Yeah, maybe it's like an IHOP.
They're in Pennsylvania, home of the Scrapple.
And they're all in there's like 100 people in that freaking restaurant.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll get to it when we get there.
So you say,
but there's a cameo from a particular person.
It's no later than 2 in the afternoon or something, if you had a late lunch or whatnot.
Yeah.
Which is still doable if they left New York at 8 in the morning. It took them 4 hours to get to Pennsylvania. It's noon. They spend an hour fucking around at the hardware store, going to the bank, fucking around at the hardware store. So I guess we're still within the realm of possibility.
They probably just drove like 3 blocks down to that sporting goods store and then went to the bank.
Yeah, I imagine it was across the street or something.
But they also went to drive out of town, stopped, pulled over by a lake.
Oh yeah, got the guns.
And then got the guns. Then they had to go steal a car. They're really pushing it. Like they're really up against the time here.
She explains that if they rob the bank, it'll ruin the Winterfest celebration. So Dave and Bill apologize and leave the bank because what's more important than the Winterfest? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Actually,
these little towns live on things like that.
Actually, Bill shoves a shotgun in her face and asks who the hell this dumb bitch is, to which she says she's the bank manager's wife and says that the bank vault is closed. Then Nick Cage asks where the key is in a very Nick Cage delivery.
Who's got a key? Raise your hand. You got a... No? All right, raise your hand. Key! All right, you fashion queen. Who's got the key?
My husband is the only one with the key.
Key!
As he's like doing this with the shotgun.
The manager's wife says her husband is the only one with the key, which seems inconvenient, and he'll be out for lunch for about 45 minutes. Dave, the not completely mentally handicapped brother, suggests that they just kind of hang out in the bank with the hostages for 45 minutes. While their fully mentally handicapped brother just sits in the car while it's idling for the next, I guess, hour.
Right in front of the bank.
Right in front of the bank.
Yeah.
Which, like, he's giving himself, like, a little pep talk in case a cop stops and talks to him. Which, you know, it seems like there are 2 cops and one of them is handicapped in the whole town until later.
Well, they got a bunch of deputies.
Yeah, they have a lot of deputies. A lot of deputies.
They met 2 of them already. Spoilers.
It's pretty easy to be deputized in this town, which I guess is true of like small towns, but you know, you really wouldn't see this in like a Pennsylvania town, I wouldn't feel like, but more like in a town in like Alaska or something where they just kind of name random weirdos to be the deputies. Bill enlists moron Alvin to help him drag everyone eating at the restaurant across the street over to the bank so the manager can open the vault because Bill is also a moron and obviously terrible at this.
All right, hold on. Before we wait for the cafe scene, I'm convinced that time travel is real and that Nigel in the future as an old man comes back and makes it onto that set to be an extra because there's this old man wearing glasses that Nick bumps into that looks just what I imagine Nigel would look like as an old man.
I thought that it was old Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys.
He does look like Bubbles. He looks like Ed Asner. He looks like the character from Up.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced it's you, Nigel. That's 100% what you're going to look like at that age. And that convinces me that time travel is real.
Nigel looks like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys.
With those glasses on, which would be a Nigel thing to do, because he'd be like, hey, I'm going to go back. Yeah, he's like, I'm going to go back. Nobody will recognize me, and I kind of look like Bubbles.
Go back to 1994 and pick Trapped Out of Paradise to be on.
Well, I will now because I've done this show. So
exactly.
You just created a closed time loop.
Awesome. I can't understand how that works, but I hope it's true.
Alvin gives a random guy in the restaurant who doesn't look like Nigel his shotgun so he can eat some scrapple before he heads over to the bank with 50 people in tow.
Yum, yum.
What are you doing?
I'm eating Scrabble.
Don't touch any of that. We're getting out of here.
He's got scallions.
I mean, there's like every person who was there, like when they almost ran over the deputy, is in this restaurant now.
Well, they had all those extras, so
yeah,
they're going to shoot multiple scenes.
Yeah.
With them. New York, where they had the one reggae guy as the extra, they had to use him multiple times in the same shot.
Yeah. By the way, Dana Carvey still talks in a very high-pitched, goofy voice that is immediately identifiable by anybody who hears it throughout the entire scene, with about 50 people overhearing him talk, most of whom he comes in direct contact with repeatedly throughout the film. A bunch of those people show up in other scenes, especially the people in the bank, conveniently.
He even stops to get the scrapple recipe.
Yeah.
He's discussing it with somebody as he walks back across the street.
You guys think anybody will recognize my voice after this?
Dave does yoga with half the town in the bank, while Bill, since he's obviously a trained professional bank robber, does the old mist the air to reveal hidden lasers trick. Then sets off the fucking alarm immediately when he leaves with the money. Just the dumbest group of dipshits ever, these guys.
God, yeah, fucking idiot.
He steps over it, but then he swipes the money bag through it and sets it off.
Then he sets out the alarm again later on, spoilers. But that was convenient because 2 seconds earlier, it's like, somebody in jail told me that if you put in the wrong key, it'll set off the bank vault, or the alarm, which didn't happen earlier, right? No. The manager opened it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
So the manager should have just put the wrong key in and tripped the alarm.
Exactly.
Right. But he's a good guy, so, you know.
Yeah,
he's
he doesn't want to hurt
out.
this guy's feelings. Also, there's no cops in this town, so who's going to come to their rescue? Well, there's no cops in the town until after the bank robbery.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of cops.
There's way too many cops.
More than probably in New York City amount of cops. Borderline militia cops.
They run out of the bank, but Alvin guns it when they try to get in the car for some reason. and then slams on the brake, causing a 5-car pileup in front of the bank, which actually might be how they got away, because there's like all these cars just sitting right in front of the bank. Though it is a 2-lane road, I saw, so the cops could have just gone right around him. But whatever. Dave and Bill catch up to the car, and Special Ed guns it again. Then they catch up to the car again a few blocks away, and miraculously, these nincompoops get away without a single cop following them. I guess Officer Doofy wasn't on patrol, or was the only one on patrol. He actually turns out to be the only competent cop in the entire thing, the handicap guy, because he pulls the gun at the end and ends up saving the day.
Yeah.
Scary movie, Officer Doofy.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I got it too.
Remember that movie that came out 20 years ago?
I fucking love that movie.
Oh, what's that? My ass.
Mom, I told you not to bother me when vacuum in my room.
Vacuum in my room. Try doing that now, man.
Ooh, that's a movie that could not be made today.
Yes. They dump the car, and Bill realizes he still has the keys to the vault in his pocket. They all have tons of time to have a good chuckle and take their time instead of, leaving the town they just robbed. Yeah, that's another time thing. It's still light out at that point.
Right.
Okay? And then they have potentially a couple hours to drive. I think I've mentioned it here coming up, but... over in jail, Vic, the guy who told these idiots about this incredibly easy to rob bank, finds out that somebody beat him to the punch, and he immediately knows who did it. He freaks out, and I guess he and his buddy break out of jail easier than the Firpo brothers robbed that bank.
Yeah, like they break out within an hour or something of deciding that they need to get out and do something about it.
It's super easy. You could literally just walk out the front door if you really wanted to. It's all on the honor system, you see.
Right. Like, it wouldn't have made more sense to just be like, oh, they were also let out on parole, because they just let these other guys out on parole, and they already established that the judge was feeling lenient and was just letting people out early because of overcrowding.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these are bad guys.
Yeah, these are actual bad guys. They're not funny bad guys.
It still would have been funny if they did that. Like, they give these two idiot kleptos a hard time, but they let these murder monster guys out on parole.
Right. It would have been hilarious, but that's not who wrote the script.
Back in Paradise, the FBI is called in to solve this incredibly difficult case that local police couldn't possibly figure out. Sing-songy voice guy who always talks like this. Couldn't figure out who did it. Even though he talked during the entire bank robbery. So, anybody who was in that bank would recognize John Lovitz's voice immediately. Nobody else talks like that. And then Alvin's voice, of course.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure one of the guys was on SNL. Another guy? It might be the deputy, or might be the sheriff's son.
I think
Alvin!
His name is Alvin.
So by the time the FBI gets in, it's finally nighttime, right?
Yeah.
I think, because he arrives when Chopper.
I
was about to mention it. Another quick aside: it was broad daylight and clear when they robbed the bank. They went across the street and interrupted lunch. So I'd say they've had at least a couple of hours to get out of town at this point. When the FBI shows up, it's dark and it's snowing. This is the beginning of the blizzard, and that is very conveniently seems to affect certain areas but not other areas, and they're able to drive in certain spots, but then the roads are closed in other spots. Also, it's just very convenient. Everything in this movie is very convenient.
It's at least 6 p.m., 7.
You would think
it's fully night, so it's probably 6 or at least 6 or 7 at this point.
It's really 6 or 7, yeah.
But there's a lot of things that happen after this.
Including
Christmas Mass, which I would assume
they do midnight mass.
They do midnight mass,
Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So, because it'd be
it'd be Christmas.
First mass on Christmas. Yeah, it'd be midnight. So
okay.
All right. So we've established that it's about 6 o'clock, maybe 6 or 7. All right. Cool. Keep going.
Agent Pizer.
I'm trying to make this timeline work. I think this timeline works, but it really stretches.
Really
the
rigid.
It's very tight.
Yeah.
It's very tight.
Agent Pizer, played by the great Richard Jenkins, who is great in his few moments that he gets on screen. I always love that guy. He always reminds me of Alan Arkin a little bit, where he's just like every time he shows up, he's just hilarious, even when he's not even trying to be hilarious.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
I love Richard Jenkins.
This is his second best Christmas film, first being Step Brothers.
You broke my boat, you goons.
You reek of scotch and cheesecake.
Agent Pizer asks if there have been any suspicious people in the town, and the sheriff tells him immediately about the 3 guys who almost ran over his son. He then explains that one of them talked like Mickey Rourke if he was a slow-witted moron, and that over 50 people inside of the bank heard someone who talked just like that. No, wait, that didn't happen, but he did put an APB out on the Infinity that almost ran over his son. Did we establish that it's his son? I don't know if we talked about that, but the
sheriff tells him it's his
mentally
son.
handicapped cop is the sheriff's son.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking nepotism.
In the car with the all-star bank robbers, they're still letting Alvin, the guy who gunned it outside of the bank, drive, which I guess explains how they managed to get only a few miles from town and have apparently been driving around in circles for hours. Some of the blame has to fall on Dave and Bill, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we passed that place a few times.
I made 4
Why
lefts.
don't you drive?
Not only that, but I feel like there's got to be only one real road coming in and out.
You would think.
It's the road. Yeah, and there's gonna be signs back to like an interstate for a small town like that.
But it's
how
snowing.
hard is it to get back?
Yeah, it's snowing and dark.
Touche. I forgot one.
And Alvin's driving because he's the best driver of the
Well,
group.
he said in his defense he made 4 lefts.
I just did what the map said. I made 4 lefts.
4 lefts is a circle, you idiot!
Are you sure?
He did.
He's trying to follow the map.
Alvin said he did exactly what the map said and made 4 lefts, and Bill freaks out on the clearly feeble-minded dumb shit he left in charge of their getaway. Right on cue, a state trooper spots them on the road and flips around to follow them. They get about 200 yards before Alvin drives them off of a bridge. Stop letting him drive! Why are you still letting him drive? He drives in every scene except for the first one when Dave or Bill picks him up from jail.
Yeah.
Was that in like Dana Carvey's contract? Like, if I'm in a scene, I gotta drive.
Hey, you do what you do. He does what he does.
Yeah. The cop drives right past them because, well, we've got another hour to fill for some reason. I don't know why this thing needed to be as long as it is, but Jesus. We're not even like halfway through.
Yeah.
Nick Cage gets out of the flipped car and simply says,
Ow! Oh, ow! Ooh! That hurt!
another quintessentially Nick Cage moment. Yeah. A Good Samaritan happens upon them because he has better eyesight than a state trooper who is looking specifically for them.
Who probably watched them drive off the bridge.
Yeah.
And then lets them know that the interstates are all closed, so there's no way or nowhere else for them to go besides, you guessed it, back to paradise. Which really comes into play several times here of like, so was the storm only happening for like an hour? Or
Yeah.
did they close the interstate for an hour?
all night, but it's always like
Yeah.
little flurries. It's not like a big full-on blizzard.
Yeah.
It,
But they do mention that there is a blizzard and that it has closed all the interstates north, which
which is the direction they were trying to go.
yeah,
Was north.
but they're able to go
Which
to
is direction
Philadelphia, which is fine.
Yeah.
Apparently the roads are fine down to Philadelphia, but the convicts who escape from prison are able to drive right down to Paradise.
Paradise,
No
yeah.
problem.
And then
They
When
point
they
out
take-
like we'll be able to catch them as long as they go north. So maybe everything north of Paradise is closed.
But southbound
And
is
they don't
fine.
want to go south for some reason.
Southbound interstate is closed, or it's open.
Southbound.
Northbound interstate
It's
is
open.
closed.
Well,
Yeah.
You know how they do that all the time.
yeah.
The guy who picks them up forces these three guys who were just in a terrifying car accident where where the car fell over 20 feet and completely flipped upside down to sing some Christmas carols with him. Wouldn't you know it, this guy coincidentally happens to be the nephew of the bank owner and his wife, and who would you guess lives with them? Sarah! How convenient. It's funny how all the characters just all live together. Ed and Clovis from the sporting goods store just happen to be driving by at the exact moment that the Firpo brothers are standing outside of the bank manager's house. Wow. That is convenient. By the way, these guys are now deputies too. When did that happen? Like,
I'm guessing they deputized everybody because of the bank case.
They just deputized the whole town.
I mean, the whole town saw the bank robbery, so might as well make them all deputies trying to solve it.
I guess, yeah. Makes sense. So we're clear. There are now 2 deputies that may or may not have been hit with a hammer on the head as children, right? They're running around this town with the ability to arrest people. Just so we're clear. The nephew says these complete strangers were in an accident, so he decided to bring them over to their house instead of like a hospital or a motel or something. Mr. Anderson, the bank manager from earlier, and also the guy from The Thing, if you'll recognize him, says he recognizes them from the bank, but he knew they couldn't be the ones who robbed it since they were talking with Sarah. Again, so we're clear. Dave and Alvin have 2 very distinct ways of speaking, but he doesn't recognize them from that, but rather from them talking to Sarah earlier. And the mere fact that they were having an interaction with her means that they couldn't have possibly been the bank robbers.
Yeah, of course.
Idiot Alvin immediately starts stealing shit in these poor people's house while they give them presents from under the tree containing clothes that fit them perfectly.
Yeah. Clothes meant for Mr. Anderson somehow fit John Lovitz.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson's like, I'm 6'7" and like 170 pounds.
Yeah.
Although they didn't make a joke about it. He's like, I hope it fits. But it does, so.
Yeah, sure. Of course it does. Why wouldn't
His
it?
wife is just terrible at shopping for clothes. Her husband buys all kinds of different sizes.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
Which,
She's preparing.
The other weird thing is, like, so robbing this bank is such a monumentous occasion that the FBI gets called in, but the bank manager is able to just go home and have dinner with his family instead of,
answering
working
questions.
with the FBI trying to solve the bank robbery.
It's Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve.
Sarah comes downstairs and flirts with Bill because we needed to shoehorn a love story into this thing somewhere, I guess. It's one of those Hallmark style movies. So of course there has to be a love interest. Which this whole plot point just kind of seems unnecessary and just really forced to me. And like, I looked it up. Nick Cage and Mädchen Amick are not very different age-wise, but she feels so much younger than him for some reason.
I think we're just used to that being Nick Cage's MO at this point.
It's also like I read, she was in Twin Peaks and she was so young in Twin Peaks, so I always kind of think of her as like that 17-year-old waitress.
I'm gonna look up how old Nick Cage's wife was when this movie came out.
Oh my
12.
god. Oh my god. You mean his current wife?
Yes.
Right. Before he had ever met her, because he's not into pedophilia.
She's 26. She may not
She's
even
26
been born.
now. Yeah, she wasn't born.
94. Yeah, she was. Yeah. Because she'll be 30 in 4 years. Right? She's 26 now?
Was born in
sorry.
She was born in 1995.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
so his wife was not even born yet when this movie came out.
Couple of quick facts.
Maybe.
I want to do that for every movie now. We're going to, until he divorces her.
Oh, God.
She was negative
We're
1.
trying to celebrate this man, not get him to ban us from being on the internet.
Okay. Bill points out a 3-legged dog staring at him.
It's another long and miserable story that I'd rather not get into. Right now, there's a 3-legged dog over there staring at me.
Oh, it's a tripod. You need a tripod.
for kind of no reason.
That's a great delivery, though.
Yeah.
And there's a three-legged dog.
There's a three-legged dog staring at me. While Dave blocks the TV when a report comes on about the two dudes who escaped from prison by hijacking a laundry truck. That explains how they got out of prison. They overpowered 3 guards and hijacked a laundry truck.
Because, prisons have outside laundry service.
They do for movies.
This is a maximum security prison, I would assume. These guys are like mobsters. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but
it's an inside job.
It's an inside job.
Breaking out of prison and robbing banks sure seems easy, man. I think we should rob a bank and then break out of prison.
I'm down.
No sweat. He starts singing Christmas carols while Bill asks what the hell is wrong with him. Singing at the top of your lungs, jumping around like Fred Astaire. I can't get that delivery, but it's so. Only Nick Cage could deliver it that way.
What's the matter with you? Singing at the top of your lungs, jumping around like Fred Astaire.
Yeah.
Dave calls their mom, but wouldn't you know it, the 2 guys from the prison answer the phone. The main Goomba says they're not going to hurt their mom if they give the money back. So I guess he knows that they robbed the bank already.
Right.
Yeah.
He put 2 and 2 together. Like he called.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're calling his mom from Pennsylvania. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess
4
they didn't
hours
have
away
caller
at this
ID
point,
yet,
by the way. So
yeah.
So if it's 6 or
right.
7, so it's a 4-hour drive from New York
They're just sitting down to Christmas dinner, so
maybe Paradise is like
dinner.
right on the border of Pennsylvania. Like,
could be. I just Google searched New York City to Pennsylvania, and it threw me into the middle of Pennsylvania. But.
Yeah. So probably still at least like 3 for New York City.
And it's a blizzard.
And depending on traffic getting out of the city, which could be 2 hours right there.
So they're not going to arrive in Pennsylvania until probably 11 or midnight at the very earliest.
When did they show up after the midnight mass, right?
Do they? Okay. So
guess it does track.
So kind of, it's time now. It's time now. Okay.
I can't imagine George Gallo like sitting down and actually like figuring out the timeline of this whole thing. It's just like, and then this happened, this happened, this happened.
He's watching this video like, fuck you guys. That's exactly what I did.
I put a lot of thought into that. It works.
I timed it to the minute, and it makes sense.
What have you guys done? Nothing. I did Wise Guys, Midnight Run, Bad Boys. Go fuck yourselves.
I came up with a story for Bad Boys. 2 cops.
2 cops. Explosions.
That's it. 2 cops. Explosions. Mrs. Anderson tells them to get cleaned up for dinner, and Nick Cage delivers the line,
I'm just saying, something smells good. Nothing better than that smell in the whole wide world.
and then he laughs like Gomer Pyle for some reason.
She doesn't just tell them to clean up. She says, dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. You better take your showers.
Yeah.
So she's expecting 3 grown men to shower in 10 minutes and be ready for dinner.
Well, going back to, their kink, they'll probably just shower together.
Yeah, it's prison. They're used to
Come on, Daddy.
prison life.
Come on, Daddy, let's go shower. Yeah, Dad, let's go shower.
I call front.
I can see your ring ding.
Here comes the milk. He tells Alvin and Dave that he doesn't want to get to know the people he just robbed before sitting down for Christmas dinner with them. Which I thought was funny, like his like over the top, like wholesome, goofy guy, and then he just snaps right into, I don't want to sit down with these people. We're in a real situation here. There's some good comedy. There's some moments in this movie for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dave asks the family way too many questions about the bank robbery, and Mr. Anderson explains that the robbery will likely put the bank out of business since he does things the old-fashioned way and not like these big city banks, Kind of like the cop in Grand Isle, where it's we don't do we don't do big city things like insure the money or anything.
Yeah, now the FDIC's got to get involved. It's just like, is it possible to open a bank and not have the FDIC get involved? I thought that was kind of the thing.
Yeah. He gives gives people money with no collateral, and convinces everyone in the town to open up Christmas club accounts. That's what he calls it, Christmas club accounts.
Yeah.
You know how everybody just gives extra money to the bank every year all at the same time for some reason?
Yeah, that's normal.
I'm still just trying to figure out what the hell, like, so what exactly is this Christmas Club account?
I don't know.
Is it just
honestly, it really feels like it's like a savings account for the whole town.
Okay.
That they just put money into, and then he gives it back to them at Christmas for their Christmas presents or something.
I guess that kind of makes sense. Well, like they use it, so, okay, let's say that all of the townspeople donate to this town savings account, and then they use it to run the Winterfest, and
and maybe they get a dividend from the... Yeah, and maybe they all get a share of how much Winterfest makes every year or something.
But I'm confused because
seems like a weird thing for a bank to do.
Yeah, but don't they ask about the insurance thing? And excuse me, he's saying that because this money was stolen.
Yeah, so
they're probably going to get closed down because he was loaning him money out that he shouldn't have been.
Only crooks would say that they have twice as much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, well, you gotta. And I was trying to figure out what he was getting at there. Was he trying to get the bank guy to say that twice as much money was stolen so they didn't have to give as much money back to the mobsters? But then it would be like he should be encouraging the bank manager to report less money that was stolen so they could keep some of it and then give it to the mobsters.
I think he was trying to find out exactly how much money they have in that duffel bag.
Oh, because they haven't had time to count it yet.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But, you know, they do walk in and say, here you go, $275,000.
Right. Yeah, but Mr. Anderson says no money that the FDIC is going to come shut them down now because they weren't using FDIC rules, apparently. They were like an unregistered bank, and now the FBI's coming to shut them down, which they would do anyway, regardless of whether or not they got the money back. So,
yeah, exactly.
Like, it's a bank. $27,000 is not... Or was that 270? Or was
275,000.
275,000. Yeah,
that's a decent amount of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah. For a little
Yeah,
town like this.
If they were insured for the FDIC, wouldn't be much of a problem. But
yeah. Well, I guess there's still a lot of questions about this whole savings account thing. I think we put more thought into it than they did. But anyway.
Yeah, they're like, nobody questioned this.
Maybe this is a real thing.
Yeah,
write in onecagepodcast@gmail.com if this is actually a real thing where small towns have the people in the town donate to the bank so that the bank can pay for activities that happen in the town.
Right.
Why would the bank pay for it?
Either that makes sense or it's
Might be like a planning commission. Maybe
people give their money to the bank invests it, in whatever, stocks or whatever, gets some interest on it, and then pays it back to the people who gave the money. I don't know.
Okay. Anyways, we're putting way too much into this. Sarah, having a dad who also robs banks, puts two and two together after listening to these guys yammer on about the robbery and figures out that these idiots are the ones who robbed the bank because she can spot bank robbers a mile away, even though everybody in that room should have been able to figure that out. One of the bank robbers talk like this. Oh, that's how you talk. She calls the bus station and tells them there is a bus to Philadelphia they can take because I guess the roads to the south aren't affected by the blizzard. Which I guess we established that, like, the cold front is coming through New York.
Yeah.
Doesn't explain why they couldn't have just driven to some other town. Why did they have to go home? You would think that they wouldn't even want to go to New York in the first place because Bill is wanted in New York.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they were trying to flee to Canada. Which would make even less sense because you have to cross the border to deal with that.
Yeah, there's an APB on their car. So
Mm-hmm.
It's all convenient, so it's like the car flips immediately because there's an APB on that car. So, of course, they had to not be in that car.
Gotta get the car out of the script.
Yep. The Andersons give them some money after literally giving these assholes the clothes off of their back. And Sarah drives them to the bus station while Clovis and Ed follow. Because now they're watching. They seem to think that the Andersons are involved somehow, and that these guys are like paid bank robbers that they are in cahoots with. Whatever.
It seemed like they wanted the money. Like
they did.
They were going to steal the money.
Yeah,
from
Ed planned to steal the money.
Yeah,
Clovis is just kind of the idiot who's along for the ride the whole time.
His family's sporting goods store is not doing so well.
They're going out of business.
So he needs the money to keep it going.
So much overhead on novelty sunglasses. Can't keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And not to mention all the food waste. They keep finding Captain Crunch all over the floor. They got to write off.
Yeah.
A lot of shrinkage.
Yeah, shrinkage. I haven't heard that term in a long time. The old retail years. We cut to the goons who broke out of prison driving down a completely open interstate filled with hundreds of cars that seem completely unaffected by the storm, while the Firpo brothers' mom babbles on and on about how her boys are going to come and save her before they throw her ass in the trunk. Yeah, so if the storm is affecting New York, they're driving through it. They have to drive directly through it to get to Pennsylvania, I would assume. So that bare but wet interstate that was just being rained on apparently hasn't been hit by the blizzard yet, I guess.
Yeah.
Just doing the storm and time math throughout this thing is hard. Ed and Clovis follow the Firpos to the bus station where Ed makes a plan to steal the money. Bill swindles another poor townsperson to give him money for a bus ticket since a cop wanders in, making it so he can't reach into the money bags from the robbery. Again, it's kind of setting up that everybody in this town is so wholesome and good-natured and all that kind of stuff. And that's why he makes the turn later on.
And she even says, "You're lucky you're in paradise." When she gives him the money, because everybody will just give you their money out of their wallet.
Several cops in the FBI wait outside the bus and ask Bill what's inside of the huge duffel bag he's holding onto like his life depends on it. But just as he's about to get caught, Clovis runs in and grabs, like an interception. He just grabs that bag and then the cops all immediately jump on him and draw guns on him and stuff. Like, what was the plan there? Just run and grab it and run off.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
there was no plan.
Clovis, I don't think, has any thoughts in his head throughout this entire thing. It's just Ed tells him to go do stuff. And I think Ed was like, go grab the money and run.
Yeah.
We'll get away. I'll pick you up. He throws the money to Ed after the cops grab him, who sees his buddy get a dozen guns pulled on him, and he decides he no longer wants it, so he just shucks the bag. And then Bill grabs Ed's gun from his waistband. That old thing, he's been deputized. He works in a sporting goods store, but he doesn't have a holster. He just keeps the gun right in his crotch.
They can't afford to inventory them anymore.
He fires it 3 times at the ground and then screams, "Oh my God, a gun! My favorite line of the whole movie, I think. It's just, his delivery is so good on that. Bill runs off with the money and the cops all go after Ed rather than the guy who had the huge duffel bag in the first place and refused to let the FBI guys see what was inside of it. No suspicion there at all. Yeah, he doesn't have a gun. Yeah. Even though I'm pretty sure after the first shot, everybody would have looked to see where the gunshot was coming from. And then he fires the gun 2 more times after that.
I think people would just panic and run. Maybe there's a lot of confusion.
Agent Pizer shows up with the sheriff and he tells him that these 2 boneheads are his deputies, which really bodes well for the town. You can tell Richard Jenkins plays it really well, where he's just like, God damn it, everybody in this town is a moron.
Yeah.
And then he just gets more and more frustrated because he has to work on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. He essentially is the audience.
To watch this damn movie on Christmas Eve. Wasted like Christmas Eve watching this film.
Could have been watching Christmas Vacation or. How does Paradise not burn to the ground in total anarchy on a daily basis with these?
Everyone's so good.
Everyone's so good. A pure heart.
Yeah, I guess they don't really need police. This is supposed to be one of those small towns where everybody leaves their doors unlocked and everybody trusts everybody. And the bank manager apparently trusts everybody.
Don't even have police forces. My sister apparently lives in some town in Maine that just has volunteer cops. They don't even have an actual police force because 1,000 people live there.
Maybe this is realistic. Though if there's only 1,000 people in Paradise, then all of them have made an appearance in this movie at this point.
Yeah.
Every place is crazy busy. I don't know if you noticed that. Everywhere they go.
It's Winterfest.
Everywhere. So many people.
It's Winterfest. But I love how the bus depot is busy on Christmas Eve during Winterfest.
In a blizzard.
Yeah. It's like what? It's like 10 o'clock Christmas Eve night during a blizzard.
Yeah, at that point,
and everyone's trying to get out of town.
To the brim, We gotta get the fuck out of here.
And I guess it makes sense.
All the interstates are shut down.
If you worked on Christmas Eve and then you had to get to Philadelphia, which you would assume a lot of people probably have family in Philadelphia if they live in this small town. So maybe it makes sense. And they're all taking the last bus out that evening.
Yeah.
Still, yeah. Some kids tell Agent Pizer that they saw 3 guys push the getaway car from the bank earlier into a river. So they head over there and investigate. Meanwhile, the Furpos come up with the grand plan to canoe out of the town in the middle of the night in December during a blizzard on a raging river.
I don't see what's so funny about that.
I didn't even think about it because at that point I was just going along with it. But like, where did they what?
Okay, this makes sense. Yeah, sure. Even though all the roads seem perfectly fine, they still could have driven out. They could just steal a different car and drive out of there. Just drive to Philadelphia. Why do they have to drive to New York? Why does it always have to be like we have to go north or nothing? It doesn't matter where they go as long as they're not in paradise.
Right.
Yeah.
Conveniently, a police helicopter is patrolling the river, and they decide to row faster towards it for some reason. I think they were trying to get to shore, but they just start paddling directly towards the helicopter. And of course, Alvin falls out of the boat. You know what? 10 seconds after getting in the boat, Alvin the idiot falls out of it. His screams alert some more of the good townsfolk of Paradise, and they rescue him from the freezing water. Then give him CPR, even though he was breathing normally just a few seconds ago. I guess maybe he passed out because he had tons of water in his lungs or something. Yeah. But
or he went into hypothermic shock.
Yeah,
or something.
maybe.
Yeah.
But he was perfectly fine. Like the second before they grab his hand, you see him like he's got his head above water and he's just fine. But then he's dead in the next shot.
I assumed it's because they came out from a swingers. It was clearly a swingers party that they were having, and they were just still in the spirit of it. And it wasn't so much CPR as they were just making out with him.
They're mixing brandy and soup.
Should also point out they're all old. Like it's all a bunch of old people who come out and save him
and like jump right into the river. Yeah.
And don't go into shock somehow.
Yeah, they're all fine.
Well, it's because they have bad circulation, so
they just stand by the fire and drink brandy.
Yeah. They don't even change out of their soaking clothes.
Nope.
Oh, they'll get to that later.
Which I don't think Alvin does either, does he? I think he wears those same clothes.
They just throw him on the floor and
He's wearing those soaking, freezing Christmas sweater the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The sight of seeing their brother almost die and the continuing selflessness of the good people of Paradise finally seems to make Bill see the folly of his ways. That old chestnut.
Act 3. It's about time to wrap this thing up.
We cut to Agent Pizer and company pulling the getaway car out of the river, and they find the ski masks used in the robbery inside before cutting back to the Furpos accompanying the people who just saved Alvin's life to Christmas Mass. Bill bumps into the Andersons and Sarah because there are like 100 people in this whole town, and she tells him that he wishes he'd leave since she knows he was the one who robbed the bank. Sarah walks away from the church for some reason instead of going inside, and Bill chases after her, and he confesses that he now loves the people of Paradise and he regrets robbing the bank in the cemetery. Just hanging out there.
It's weird that she didn't go because they were there for Mass. Like, why is she heading away the opposite direction?
He asks her if she thinks people can change, and they have all sorts of cliche Hallmark Christmas movie dialogue before Bill creepily tries to kiss this woman he barely knows who just told him he needs to get the F out of town because she knows he's a bank robber. Actually, that's like this scene had one of the more profound parts in it that I wish was in a better movie. It's when he looks at the Anderson gravestone, and he's like, oh, it's the great-grandfather of Mr. Anderson or whatever, and he looks at the dates on it, and it says 1829 to 1860 something, and he goes, God, your whole life's contained in that dash, isn't it? And I thought that was a really cool line, like just your whole life boils down to that dash, of between 2 years on a gravestone. It just seemed really out of place in this, and I kind of liked it. I kind of liked that this movie's doing Hallmark moments, but like subverting it, like it's cheesy Hallmark Christmassy, but then it's set like this backdrop of these 3 idiots robbing a bank in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, they do try and bring it home at the end, of kind of solidifying why they changed their mind and why they decide, spoilers, to put the money back, and and suddenly fall in love with all these people, because we've been seeing throughout the course of the movie that everybody in the town is just like super wholesome and caring and forgiving, and that trend continues throughout the whole rest of the movie.
It's like almost to the point of parody, which is I kind of felt like that's what they were going for with this movie, is like to parody Hallmark movies or John Hughes movies or whatever. Yeah, I just think it would have been better if it was a better movie, but I kind of give them credit for trying to do something like that. If they were straight up just trying to copy a Christmas craze and make a cheesy Christmas movie, then they sucked at it. But
shots fired.
I give them the benefit of the doubt.
George Gallo's pissed. Yeah.
Dave and Alvin steal a horse and buggy from a mentally challenged kid who's the deputy. He's got a horse and buggy for some reason. I guess the horse is also his because he's riding the horse at the beginning when he almost gets run over.
Yeah.
And the cops show up and catch them in the act. So he's stealing a horse and buggy from a mentally challenged deputy while he's in church.
Yeah, they're good. They're good dudes. Good people.
Yeah, great people.
A thrilling chase ensues where the entire police force and the FBI can't manage to catch an idiot who's never driven a sleigh before. To be fair, horses are faster than cars. It's just science, They got 1 horsepower.
Yeah, but, it's like...
What do those cops' cars got?
It's
3 horsepower, maybe, at the most?
There's no chance that any of these cop cars who regularly patrol the streets of a very snowy place would have studs or chains or anything like that. So they can't keep up with a horse and a sleigh. Yeah. It's just designed for being on snow with these cars. There's no way. Can't do it.
Also, Agent Pizer shoots out Ed and Clovis's tire because he has to be stuck in this godforsaken town on Christmas Eve. Either that or he just saw the tire out of the corner of his eye and shot it instead because it was black.
It's going on instinct.
I get, why do you do that? Because he doesn't trust the guys after they just got into a scuffle, and I guess because he lost the bank robbers.
Yeah,
by trying
these idiots keep getting in the way.
Why didn't he arrest him? Hold him for questioning. He's the FBI. He can do it.
I think discharging your weapon like that in a public place would probably get you a little bit of a write-up or something.
In the chase, Agent Pizer's blue sedan crashes into a tree and suddenly turns white, and 3 of the people inside suddenly disappear. Christmas is magic, after all. They managed to evade about 40 cop cars and, again, just kind of get away scot-free, and they just stop chasing them. Like their horse trots off, and there's no more cops.
It's so funny, they go to, jump some snowbank and then crash into the tree. And it's obviously a completely different make and model of the car, different color, only one guy in it.
You see the stunt driver clearly.
Also, their car is damaged already at that point. That blue sedan is already damaged. And I was like, did they bump into something earlier? Because I don't remember them bumping into anything prior to this scene, but it's already damaged during the chase.
Must have been from some editing they cut.
Yeah.
And put that shot in later that it was meant to be. Maybe there was more thrilling cop car crashes.
Yeah.
Just trying to do like a Blues Brothers parody.
They had to hack out
over the top
the 15-minute long car chase that they had.
Alvin kisses Merlin the horse goodbye with a smooch sound while talking at the same time somehow.
All right, you're a good horse. Stay strong.
While Dave and Bill flag down a car on the road that I guess isn't closed anymore, or it isn't dangerous to drive on anymore because there's plenty of traffic going back and forth. It's not even snowing. There's no ice on the road, so just wet, bare roads. And it's a really busy road for probably being midnight on Christmas. After midnight, because they got out of Christmas Mass, so now we're looking at probably 1 a.m.
Maybe the blizzard stopped, and now people are like, oh, well, I better take my window since I'm going to get there by Christmas.
Yeah, okay.
That explains 1 a.m. rush hour.
Excuses for this movie. And the horse falls into the ice of a nearby pond. Yeah, because right before that, he's like, we got to let him go or something. And then they're like, nah, just leave him. The horse is fine.
Yeah, the horse is fine.
He's fine out in sub-zero temperatures in the middle of the night, chained to a sleigh in the middle of the woods.
Right next to an interstate.
So anyway, the horse falls into ice of a nearby pond that I guess they stopped on. They stopped the horse on a frozen pond.
Yeah.
And Bill decides to do something good for a change. So they rescue the horse and they take it to a diner where it's in full view of the road, even though everyone in the county is probably out looking for it right now. And the horse is somehow not freezing to death after it fell halfway in water and they rode off with it.
Horses are pretty hardy, man.
No, they're not. Horses are like the weakest. Like, you put away a horse wet and it'll freaking get colic and die or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think Merlin's not going to survive very long after this movie.
If they drink water when they're too hot, they'll like get colic and die. Or they're remarkably fragile animals for what they are. Makes a decision to return the money since she still has the keys to the vault, which is met with surprisingly little resistance from his criminal brothers. I think maybe it's just like Dave knows he can't out-argue Bill, I guess. He tries to like maneuver him, but he can't straight up like get him to change his mind about something, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, Dave definitely puts up resistance, but not...
He does.
Yeah, Alvin immediately is like...
They still my share back too.
Yeah.
Well, again, Alvin just goes along with whatever his brothers are doing, so maybe...
Yeah.
Or they were just like, all right, just wrap the movie up. Come on.
Maybe that's Alvin's whole thing, is he's just easily led, and Bill hasn't been around to like lead him in one direction, so Dave has been leading him in the other direction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even though Bill's not much of an example either.
Yeah, right. Alvin admits that they set up Bill in New York and that he's not actually wanted because Dave called in a bogus tip about there being a sniper on the roof to make it look like the cops were there for him. And Alvin gives him back his wallet, which looks like the wallet that he found on the ground at the beginning of the movie. So I was kind of confused by that. I was like, wait, was that his wallet that he lost that was the guy's wallet he picked up? Which would be kind of funny if it was. He just
maybe he didn't actually give the wallet back. He just went to confession to say that he did. Be absolved of my sin I actually committed.
Or he gave the money back, but he kept the wallet because he liked it. Bill reacts as you expect. He flips the table and takes off. It's reasonable.
It's a normal reaction.
Yeah. He asks a bunch of truck drivers if they're headed to Paradise, which I think is some kind of lot lizard code for sex. Before stumbling upon, the two dudes who broke out of prison. Man, the coincidences just never cease in this movie.
Oh, man.
They're at the same diner somehow.
Yep. Well, getting gas right next door.
So they were heading south then? Because if they were heading
towards
south.
Paradise, I guess. These guys were heading north to get out of Paradise.
Yeah, so
they
intersected south with the horse.
No, they were heading north with the horse because they were trying to get out of Paradise towards New York because it can't go south for some reason.
But the guys came from New York, so they came to the same diner. So did the guys go north too and then come back down?
No. So they were coming. The two convicts were coming south, and then the horse and buggy was going north. And they intersected at this.
And then they
docked. New York north of Pennsylvania?
Yes.
I thought it was south. Okay, well, that
north,
explains that.
The whole thing is they won't go south.
Yeah, they just refuse to go in the direction where it's not a blizzard.
I looked it up on Google Maps when I looked up the time driving, and it was definitely in a northwestern trajectory from New York.
I mean, if they're going New York City, yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Because New York City is technically just east of Pennsylvania.
So the convicts are kind of driving northwest, and they run into Dave and Alvin and Bill, who are going southeast, to somehow run into them, but then want to go back to Paradise. Anyways. Again, this restaurant or this rest stop or whatever is open at 2 a.m. on Christmas Day for some reason.
That's actually believable because those truck stops, they run 24/7. And they do, and there are some diners out there that are 24/7 as well because they cater to all the truckers.
Mm-hmm. And there are definitely a lot of lot lizards, wandering around at that time of night on Christmas.
Asking for paradise.
Oh, asking for paradise.
Asking for some paradise.
You guys want to go to Paradise?
Anyway, these two dudes genuinely don't know who Bill is, but they give him a ride even though they have a woman locked in the trunk who he will inevitably hear because what the hell, it's Christmas.
What the hell?
They're going to kill some guys and take some money back, so they pick up a hitchhiker.
Look, they're bad guys, but they're not bad guys.
Dave and Alvin give chase when they see who Bill got in the car with. Bill hears banging coming from the trunk almost immediately. Who would have thought? So now they got the horse and buggy following this car on the interstate. Or horse and sleigh. Sorry, it's not a buggy.
Yeah.
So they have to stick to the snow then. They can't take the roads if they're in the sleigh. For some reason, the goon in the back seat eyes Bill up and down like he's about to rape him in the shower during the whole drive. Then Bill says he's in love with a girl named Sarah. You know, the girl he's had 3 interactions with lasting 2 minutes each. But again, that's on brand for Nick Cage at this point.
God damn it.
She have a flying squirrel.
God damn it. She have a flying squirrel.
Pulls out a picture of his mother from his wallet when asked if he has a picture of Sarah, and the goon in the back says he also has a picture of his mom because she's a whore. Oh wait, no, he meant his own mom. Sorry.
Yeah, his mom, not Bill's mom.
Yeah. When Vic sees it's the old woman they have bouncing around in the trunk, who's probably fighting for her last breath and hypothermia, he pulls his gun on him, prompting Bill to jump out of the car. The main goon opens fire, but Bill outwits him by jumping behind a conveniently bulletproof mound of snow. Probably. The snow's pretty dense.
Might absorb it.
Yeah, it can get pretty dense, yeah.
They fire about 4 to 5 shots, and the cops come running, but the goons will pull the car slightly off the road, so it's fine. Cops sail right by.
Yeah, they just gotta like pull off just a little bit. Don't even turn off the lights on the car. And then the cop just drives right by him, and then they just pull out.
It gets a call back to when they just drove off the road in front of a cop, and the cop just kept driving and didn't even notice.
Maybe the guy only has one eye, so he can't, like, he's only got a left eye, so he can't see.
No right-hand peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Dave and Alvin show up with the horse and sleigh, which was also not seen by the cops, which is like they were that close behind this car that was driving, like the horse was traveling at 60 miles an hour.
You know, horses can run 60 miles an hour in the snow after freezing to death. In
the middle of the night,
sitting
after
outside for an hour,
horse has
soaking
been working
wet.
Since at least the morning when he almost gets run over. So
give this damn horse a break.
Alvin show up with the horse and sleigh, which is also not seen by the cops, and ride straight back into town where the FBI and every half brain-dead deputy in town is searching for them. They head to the bank and they slap the horse on the ass so it can wander directly into a pond and die. or something.
Or something.
It's gone. They don't need the horse anymore.
It was like they couldn't leave the horse behind.
It's been their most reliable form of conveyance this whole movie, and they're just like, get out of here. We don't need it anymore.
We'll walk from here. We'll just stay in this town now. We don't have the money anymore, so we're fine.
Inside the bank, Bill confronts his brothers about the mobsters he just escaped from, and they're relieved when Bill says there wasn't anyone with them. And he says, I'm getting this feeling you're not telling me something, in a way that only Nicolas Cage can say.
I'm getting this feeling that you're not telling me something.
I feel like that was definitely an improv from Nick Cage.
Yeah, that whole scene definitely felt improv, the way that they were acting. Sets off the alarm immediately when he puts the keys in the vault, but rather than leave the money just outside the bank, he decides that they have to put it in the vault or nothing at all.
Yeah, I had lots of questions about that. Why
they take the money and
just leave it on the counter in the bank and just walk out?
Yeah.
Why does it have to go in the vault?
I don't know. That's one of my questions. One of the big ones. Agent Pizer and the cops get alerted to the alarm going off in the bank, and they haul ass over there faster than an idiot driving a one-horse open sleigh. I love that shot, though, where he's just sitting there, like, fucking with the hat on his head. Like,
Agent Pizer? What? Agent Pizer? What?
It's got one of those, like, Fargo hats. And he's just like, and they're like, you gotta get over. There's an alarm going off at the bank. Great.
Yeah.
That was one of those things that just works.
Yeah.
The comedy of it.
I feel like that was a Richard Jenkins improv.
Bored off his ass in this stupid podunk town that he just fucking with a hat, waiting for something to happen.
If you really watch like a lot of his movies where he shows up in bit parts. He's usually not the star. He's just kind of a side character, but he always adds these little things that make his character so much more interesting and memorable.
Instead of leaving the money inside the bank, they decide to leave it at the church, where the priest claims it as a charitable donation and keeps the $275,000 tax-free. The bank still ends up going out of business, and Main Street slowly dries up. The Andersons lose their home, which has been passed down for generations, and Sarah follows her in her father's footsteps to a life of crime. The end. No, wait. He gives the money back since it's a Christmas Hallmark-style movie where everyone is inherently good-hearted and no one ever does the wrong thing. Ed and Clovis rejoin the movie for some idiotic comedy relief and spot the Furpos skipping like schoolgirls down the street. Conveniently heading back to the Andersons' house.
Everything just happens conveniently through this whole thing.
Which is like, so they're going to the Andersons' house, or they just happen to be going by the Andersons' house?
I think they were just coming from the church, and
like,
they just happened to be driving down that exact same road at the same time. They could have just
brought the money back to the Andersons instead of the church. Like, I don't know.
Just ring the bell and leave, yeah.
Again, it would have made sense if they said that they were collecting the money to donate to the church at the end of the year, so that when they give the money to the church, it would have just been like, oh, that's where it was going anyway. Not somehow
I don't get the sense that it was going
town.
to the church. I thought it was going to...
It wasn't.
Yeah.
But
no.
That's why I don't know why they give it to the church instead of just giving it back to the bank.
Because it's more wholesome that they decided to drop it off with the priest in the church.
The priest is like, he's either going to report it and give it back to the bank, or he's going to keep it all, which is still going to be like, where did the church suddenly get $275,000 from?
Well, I really wish they would have just had like a cut to the interior of the church and the guys just making it rain on some little boys. I felt like that would have been a more accurate portrayal of what would have happened.
I tried so hard not to put a little boy joke into this bit.
We established, though, that they're Protestant, not Catholic, so that kind of stuff doesn't go on.
There you go.
Oh, touche. Sorry. I apologize to the Protestants.
Protestants have never done anything bad ever.
No.
Yeah. Pizer and crew sees Ed and Clovis pass by as they come out of the bank and decide to follow them. Ed and Clovis take them to the Andersons' house because Ed thinks the Furpos and the Andersons are in cahoots. At the Andersons, wouldn't you know it, the convicts are holding the whole family hostage. So they're all at the house. It's like 3 a.m. now. I'm just trying to keep the timeline going now.
Yeah.
Whole family's still awake and dressed and weren't like in bed or something.
How did the convicts know who the Andersons were? Where they lived?
Because the guy's daughter lives with him. So
that's right.
Sarah,
all right.
Sarah is Vic's daughter.
That's right.
So she probably told him about it.
I like how he's holding her hostage too. What a dick.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
she's right there with him.
I was like, hey, maybe they're just not going to acknowledge the fact that she's his daughter.
Yeah,
because he's holding her hostage with them.
Yeah, they don't really do it until this
Dad.
scene, right? Yeah. That's the big reveal.
Stop threatening to shoot this old lady in the head. Knock it off. Being so mean.
She's just, she's not even fazed by it. She's like, I've seen him shoot old ladies in the head before. It's normal.
That's how she could tell
every
that,
Christmas goes.
Yeah, because she could tell that Bill was a bad egg because she's used to him.
Yeah.
Ed's knocked out as soon as he walks inside, and Bill is shocked to see their mom. Ma! That's such a good... the way he walks in. It's like walks in just, Ma! Dave admits he knew she might have been kidnapped, but said nothing since he's an awful person up to and even after everyone's supposed to have learned their lessons in the movie. Yeah, Dave just doesn't ever have any redeeming qualities.
No, he's a piece of shit.
Dave is definitely going back to prison.
Yeah.
Vic puts a gun to their mom's head when they don't fork over the money, and Bill admits to the Andersons that they robbed the bank, but he says he's sorry, so it's fine. They forgive him. Then Nick Cage changes his accent completely for one monologue for some reason about how the people of paradise are good people, but all they can do is steal from them.
Vic, you gotta believe us. These people, the good people, they took us in, and they treated us like we was one of their own. And all we could do in return was steal from them.
He's just a completely different person in that scene. Maybe that was like one of the first things they shot, and he was like, I'm going to hold this accent through the whole movie. And then the next scene, he was like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Could be. They had a whole bunch of actors there all at once in that one room, so maybe they had to shoot that first.
Yeah.
They tell Vic that they gave the money to the church, which makes the Andersons proud of these no good pieces of shit who stuck shotguns in their faces like 12 hours ago. While this is all going on, the cops surround the house, and Bill calls Dave a liar, liar, pants on fire for like a solid minute because he faked the letter to Sarah that convinced him to go to paradise in the first place. Not for anything else.
It's like a poignant moment where Bill finally is just like, God, you're just the worst, aren't you? And then he starts making goofy jokes about it. Like it's like, everything's just fun again.
You know, you're risking our own mom's life on this stupid thing that you wouldn't even you knew was probably going to happen, but you wouldn't say anything about it, and you're just a liar, liar, pants on fire. What does he say? Like, nose as long as a
telephone wire.
Telephone wire.
Oh, Genevieve.
Suddenly, Timmy, the handy-capable deputy, springs into action, steals the gun off of one of the goons, and shoots Vic. The cops no-knock their way inside and shoot everyone, including someone sleeping in the bed upstairs, and the dog. Oh, wait, no, it's a different movie. It's real life.
Something I read.
Throw a flashbang into a baby's crib. They take everyone down to the station. I should say this had my favorite joke, which is in all this chaos, they like tear gas the house or something, and then like a bunch of smoke, and then the three-legged dog tripod hops by, and then the cops like, did we do that?
Yeah, that's a great payout for such a throwaway moment.
Yeah. Anyway, they take everyone down to the station, and aside from the escape cons, who they ship back to New York. So did Vic die? I don't
think so. He was shot in the shoulder.
And then he flew through the window and fell out.
Everybody's fine when they fall through windows in movies. So.
Yeah. And get shot at anywhere other than directly in the face or in the heart. Sarah heads over to the church, and the priest shows her the money, and she cries because this is a Christmas movie after all. Why wasn't she rounded up with the rest of them and taken to the station? She's allowed to go free.
Yeah, everybody else that was in their room, aside from her and Mr. Anderson, are in the police station.
And she goes there, and the priest is awake, and he's like, yes, I'm always available to talk and stuff. So it's like 3, 4 in the morning now, and he's still up Christmas Day.
He's a good man. This is a Hallmark movie.
I guess he had to deliver mass, so maybe he's already awake. He gets up early for Christmas.
But didn't he just deliver the midnight mass? Or is this a different church?
Yeah, that's what I mean. No, it's the same church, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's the only church in town.
And he got the money, so maybe he's just too excited to sleep. You know,
he's all jazzed. Yeah, he's like, oh man, I delivered a kick-ass mass, and now I got $275,000. I don't got to get it back.
Agent Pizer interrogates half the town at the same time. Not in an interrogation room, just in like a coffee break room in the station. But they all have selective amnesia, and they refuse to identify the Furpos as bank robbers. Mrs. Anderson says they were wearing masks, so she has no idea it's them. And Officer Doofy says the Furpos saved them from being hurt inside the house.
By the way, there's people from the scene where Alvin gets resuscitated with CPR.
The swingers?
Yeah, they're in there. The swingers. Which, why are they there at all? Did the cops are driving by like, hey, you get in the car too. Come over here. Because they weren't in that house or anything.
Yeah.
They're there to recruit more people.
Yeah. Maybe they were under arrest for sexual deviancy. Yeah. And they just happened to be there.
By the way, when Alvin is screaming, their lights turn on. So they were all asleep, apparently, at that point. Those old people.
They were in the red room.
And now it's like 3 hours later.
They're all in the cops.
They're all at the police station.
Ed says it's all a load of bullshit. He tells Agent Pizer that the three of them were in his store like half an hour before the robbery and bought 3 ski masks, to which Alvin produces 3 ski masks that he stole. They've turned the corner, and they're now great people, even though theft just saved their asses. I don't get how that absolved them. Like, but
because they bought the ski masks, you know.
Pizer's like, you bought these ski masks and you robbed a bank with them. So if you have the ski masks,
if they still have the ski masks on,
rob the bank.
Yeah, then
yeah, they didn't rob the bank.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh no, we got the ski masks because I stole them. And so he's not like, well, shit, you just held on to the ski masks. That's proof right there that you did it because you got these same ski masks.
Well, the ski masks were in the car, so they found
these are different
in the
ones.
getaway car. So this is 3 different sets of ski masks.
He's like, well, here's the ski mask that we bought.
Right. Okay.
How could those be the ones that we bought?
Got it.
Yeah. Even though this dude was in a bank stealing pens.
Agent Furpo asks where the Agent Pizer.
Asian Furpo.
Furpo really does sound like something that was like some sort of weird sex act that you'd find on
That's what the old people were doing.
They were doing the
Furpoing.
Pizer asks where the Furpos were at the time of the robbery, and Sarah shows up out of nowhere and says that they were with her. The priest also shows up with the money in the box, and Pizer says that the 3 of them are getting the break of a lifetime and to not screw it up. It's just like, all right,
you're free to go.
I love you, but you got an ironclad case against you, so hands are tied. I'm out of here.
You have the ski mask.
If I was that agent, I'd be like, well, what were you guys doing with her for 10 hours?
The next day, they all board a bus back to New York, except for Bill, who decides to stay in paradise with the girl he's had 4 interactions with. She makes out with him, and the bus leaves this guy with no car, no job, no place to stay in paradise, where he eventually gets desperate and robs banks again. The end.
What a lackluster ending.
Right. Again, it's like were they just parodying like the happy ending Christmas movie?
Yeah.
I
mean, I think that's what they were going for. Was
like it's all tied up in a nice little bow that makes no sense, but whatever, we're rolling with it.
They're in love.
They were really, they were shooting for like a Die Hard ending, and it didn't land.
Funny because Alvin stole some candy bars. Actually,
did he steal paydays?
Yeah.
Alvin hasn't changed at all.
It was great. I loved it. It just all have candy bars.
Your brother's going to town.
What are you? Oh yeah, we forgot. There's the incest joke.
Yeah.
We don't even like each other.
When are you two getting hitched? We're not even attracted to each other. Then they all yuck it up over paydays.
Maybe that's what a Furpo is.
Yeah.